It's my great pleasure to introduce the 14th president of St. Mary's College, Dr. Katie Conboy. Now beginning the 7th year of her presidency, Dr. Conboy continues to bring her 4 decades of experience in higher education to work and is leading St. Mary's into a strong and vibrant future. Her tenure includes 32 years in Catholic higher education and 13 years at women's colleges. As St. Mary's continues to focus on empowering leaders, enriching our community, and enhancing our future, Katie and her executive team have recently created and disseminated a roadmap for completing the Revere and Revise strategic plan, created in 2020 by its end date of 2030. Katie continues to bring tremendous energy and enthusiasm for St. Mary's into all her efforts. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our president, Dr. Katie Conboy.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. It's really interesting that when you're down there, you know who's in the room, but when you're up here, it's just a lot of bright lights on you. So hard to see you, but really good to hear you and to know that you're out there. I not only want to thank Jessica for that lovely introduction, but for her incredible service. She thanked a lot of people, but we didn't really thank her. So let's say thank you to Jessica. I also want to thank Kara O'Leary, class of '89, and Executive Director of Alumni Relations and Advancement, and McKenna Schuster-Brandt, class of 2015, who is Associate Director of Special Events, for their hard work in planning this incredible weekend for all of you. We have an incredible turnout, over 700 people here for reunion, and I almost said commencement. And I also want to welcome our newest member of the Alumni Relations team, Sarah Jannings, class of 2025, who just barely finished up her master's degree and then started work and came back across the street. So she was over at Notre Dame for her master's after completing her degree last year and has rejoined us to work in the Alumni Relations office. So I am so happy to be speaking with you today about what I really believe is a wonderful and exciting moment at St. Mary's. On Monday, I started my 7th year as your president, and I remain as committed to the work as I was on my first day. So, yeah, but if we clap a lot, we won't get through this. So thank you. I appreciate that. I just will say a brief thing about the academic year end. You know, we had another great academic year this year. Lots of the same kinds of events that you remember from your time at St. Mary's. And our students are co-creators of their experience here. They really love to, think in new ways every single year with new leadership about the kinds of things they want to make happen on campus. So we had a great year. It ended right after the last day of classes with our St. Mary's Academic Symposium. This is a huge day of hearing from researchers, both faculty and students. It really highlights their accomplishments, and we're proud of what we saw from the students. So then we had finals, obviously, and commencement for the class of 2026. It was a beautiful weekend with over 370 graduates receiving their degrees. So you can keep that number in mind, that 370 people received their degrees, because I know alumni always want to know about a couple specific metrics that say a lot about the health of the college. So after sending our alumni in the class of 26 out into the world, we now turn to welcoming the class of 2030. Can you believe it? 2030. Well, I'm excited to share that as of yesterday, our first year deposits are at 511. So I agree that we should clap about that one. This class is we've been growing every year. So last year we were close to 500. We were 515 on deposit deadline day, and we're still at 511. So we're happy about that. We'll see a little bit more melt over the summer. But this class is academically talented, diverse, and dynamic. They have an average GPA of a 3.9, 31% are first in the family to go to college, 30% are students of color, 21% have a legacy connection, and they represent 31 states and 4 countries. And then we also expect to enroll about 25 transfer students, but transfer happens really over the summer. We're just projecting that that looks like where we're going. So for several years, as I said, our undergraduate enrollment has been growing. As recently as fall 2021, our total undergraduate enrollment was 1,381. With the growth in new students over these last few years and strong retention, we will exceed 1,600 undergraduates this fall. That's a 16% increase in enrollment in just a few years. So total enrollment in St. Mary's graduate programs is just over 100 students. Now, all this growth means that classrooms and labs and dining spaces and lounges and residence halls are full and buzzing with activity these days. I did hear Adri Trigiani say yesterday in her presentation that people were sleeping in the hallways when she arrived. Class of 81 there. That may be true, but nobody's going to be sleeping in the hallways. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. In fact, in August, we are opening Lourdes Hall, purchased from the sisters a few years ago, to help accommodate these increased numbers of students with on-campus housing. And Lourdes adds 44 more beds to our inventory. So people like to hear about enrollment, great news about enrollment, and I'm happy to share that. Now, as for our financial health, which I know you're also interested in, I want you to hear this. We are very strong. Our endowment is primarily invested with Notre Dame's endowment. Now, that's been for quite a long time, since before I came. Some very smart former board chair said, that would be a good idea, and I'm really happy that that happened, because our endowment just continues to grow at a wonderful rate. We haven't yet reached the June 30th reporting date, so we only tell people about our endowment based on June 30th. So last year's June 30th would have put us at $376 million, but we get a quarterly report, and we've seen those quarterly reports, and we know that when we get our report on June 30th, St. Mary's endowment and total invested funds will have surpassed $400 million. Just as a placeholder to think about that growth, on my first day, the endowment stood at 199.2. So there's been a lot of growth, and I want you to know that growth has been about thoughtful stewardship. So a lot of it has been the investment growing because it's invested in really smart ways. And it's also been about your generosity, because we have been running a campaign that is largely an endowment campaign. Scholarships and student experiential learning and endowed professorships. These are entered into our endowment, and we spend the money from those out of a small amount that we take out of that endowed fund. So it is really helpful when people make endowed gifts to the college, and we are so grateful to them. So yes, thank you to all of you. And a lot of this has happened during our campaign, which has been, we've been counting our dollars since June 1st of 2020, and we will be revealing tonight during the public launch celebration exactly where we are in that campaign. So I'm excited for that moment, and if you're not joining us in person, I hope you'll join the live stream for all or some of it, and I really hope you'll join the after party, because it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a big surprise. So, in addition to the corpus of our endowment, which I said already is invested at Notre Dame, we have a small portfolio of endowed funds, invested funds, that are with Catholic Investment Services, an excellent organization that we get great returns from. And we also now have a small portfolio with Rethink Impact. And Rethink Impact is a US-based venture capital firm that is investing in companies with women leaders who are solving problems, mostly in healthcare and education. A great match for St. Mary's College, and they do really well as well. So we're excited to see how those investments continue. And they also have engaged our students on some webinars where our students get to learn from some of these women CEOs. They've invited me to attend their annual summit. So they really want to be involved with the women's colleges, and there are a handful of us who have decided to invest with an organization that cares about women leaders. So further financial evidence of our health, last January, Standard & Poor's gave us an A- rating with a stable outlook. That is an outstanding bond rating for a college of our size. And then just last week, Forbes singled us out among small private colleges with an A+ for improved financial strength. So this financial progress is incredibly important, but it's most important because it strengthens our ability to support our students. We aren't trying to get rich so we can say what our endowment is. That endowment needs to be table stakes for the work we're doing right here at St. Mary's every single day, investing in students, investing in faculty, programs, advancing our mission for years to come. And our CFO, Peter Christensen, is away for a family wedding, but I'm grateful for his stewardship of our resources. I'll be naming some members of my team today because I have an incredible team, many of them here, and I hope you'll have a chance to chat with them at times over the weekend as well. You know, I'm very aware that we're usually in Carroll Auditorium, and I feel a lot closer to everybody in Carroll Auditorium. I feel really up here and a little separated from all of you, which is odd. Okay, I've been asked a lot in the last couple of years, how is it that St. Mary's is defying the odds in a difficult national enrollment landscape? And I think there are several reasons. The first is that we created a vibrant new signature experience for all students that we call the Avenue Experience. And I'll describe that a little bit more in just a minute. I think the second reason we're defying the odds is that we invested in beautiful new marketing materials. I got a few of them up here. If anybody wants to look at them afterwards, come on up. The power, stand in your power. So really the power of a St. Mary's education. You belong. You see it down every signpost on the avenue. And there's a lot more in each of these. These are admission materials. But you know that our advancement materials around the campaign, if we've already spoken to you about the campaign, are also absolutely beautiful and in the same family as these, although having their own kind of signature look. And our website has been beautifully redesigned as well. So our digital and print materials are telling a different kind of story. And it's a bold story. It's a story that says we are rooted in our heritage. We are going to remain a Catholic women's college and proud of it. And we're saying we know that 21st century students may have some desires in their college experience that I didn't have when I went to college in 1976, and that other people didn't necessarily have in other generations of St. Mary's experience. So those marketing materials are helping us to tell a different kind of story. And I think the third thing is that we are leaning into our relationship with Notre Dame. And students have always shared lots of experiences at Notre Dame, primarily social experience, and that continues with over 500 clubs and organizations that are shared across the tri-campus. Over 25% of the marching band is St. Mary's, and this coming year, one of the drum majors, St. Mary's, yes. She's about this tall, and she says that the best part about it is she gets to wear the hat that makes her a foot taller. And then we have new academic opportunities as well, with many accelerated pathways into graduate programs at Notre Dame. I'll say that a little more about that in a minute too. And then finally, we hired the right person to do this work and lead our enrollment and student life areas. And that's Vice President Lori Johnson, who's class of 1991 and celebrating her reunion with all of you. Okay, so let me say just a little bit more about each of these areas that I'm claiming are responsible for our success. First, the Avenue Experience is the distinctive curriculum to career program that blends coursework with professional mentoring and skill building and internships and credentialing opportunities. It guides students along a personalized journey. They have choices. They kind of map their own avenue. And they go from orientation to graduation on that avenue. It's a journey that's designed to uncover hidden talents, enrich their academic experience, and prepare them to lead in their careers, in their communities, in their families. These tailored pathways empower students to chart their own course with confidence and with purpose. And a physical expression of that Avenue experience is our new Prekel Advising Career and Experience Center, which Jessica mentioned, the PACE Center, which opened in late January. It's located on the north side of Rainbow Lounge if you haven't actually gotten in there yet, so you see the entrance to it, the interior entrance to it from Rainbow Lounge where you checked in for a reunion, and there's a new exterior entrance to it as well out the back of Lamont. And this beautiful new integrated hub pulls together career and academic advising as well as experiential learning. Hopefully you were able to visit it yesterday during the open house, but students are already benefiting from the expanded staffing that we have there, and now they'll have even more opportunities for alumni mentoring and career-focused opportunities. We remain deeply committed to a liberal arts education, but that doesn't mean we can't help students think in advance of graduation day about where they're heading. We recently announced that we have hired an inaugural Dean of Career Integration, Megan Piersma. She's coming to us from Notre Dame's Mendoza College of Business, but she's the graduate of a liberal arts college, and she is bullish on what we are doing at St. Mary's. This year's entering students were the first who were able to really participate in the full rollout of the Avenue experience. We did a little bit of a pilot last year, but this year they began with the first year seminar program where each student chooses a themed seminar that's aligned with her own interests. So the seminars all emphasize dialogue across difference, and they build a strong sense of belonging from the earliest days at St. Mary's. Some of the topics for those seminars included women's leadership, urban planning, interfaith dialogue, and healthy relationships, among many others. When you have 500 new students, you have to have a lot of first-year seminars. We also have a new course called Avenue 101, which helps students to sort of navigate their arrival at St. Mary's, and that gives them a lot about the history and heritage of the Sisters of the Holy Cross and of our continued sponsorship by the Sisters. We're building milestones into every year of a student's experience to ensure that every student engages in experiential learning and builds a network that sets her up for a successful launch when she graduates. And we want her to have the tools that she needs to have an intellectual, spiritual, and relational, meaningful life. I think I just want to say a word about this idea that students need networks. We did a little bit of research and we discovered that our students who get a job immediately after graduation often get a job through a network they already had when they came to St. Mary's. And when we are enrolling 31% of our students who are first in their family to go to college, they are coming to us without that network. And it's our responsibility to make sure that every student has an equal playing field in being able to access a network and do everything with her St. Mary's degree that she's dreamed of making possible. So I really want to say that the program that we've built, the Avenue Experience program, was very collaboratively built by faculty and staff. But I also want to give a huge shout out to our provost, Megan Zwart, because she's the person who has driven the successful and, I might add, very speedy implementation of a program that has attracted some large grants from external entities like the Mellon Foundation to support it. So great job, Megan, and all of your work. Now, you heard a little bit from Jessica about this, but as part of the Avenue experience and our commitment to you, our amazing alumni, we created The Bridge, a social media networking and mentoring platform that connects alumni with each other and also connects them with students. The Bridge can allow you to be an important part of opening doors for each other and for our current students. So far, over 2,400 alumni have created profiles. That's amazing. So if you haven't yet, I hope you go home and or you can do it while you're here. You might have other things you want to do, but I hope you jump on that and put your own profile in there. This networking platform is going to become an important part of the sophomore year experience for our students. We hope to be able to scale it up over the next couple of years so that every student who wants an alumni mentor assigned in their sophomore year is able to have one. And I have said this to a couple of alumni groups before, but I want to say it here. you don't have to have had a big career to be a great alumni mentor. You just have to be a person who's lived a life and cares about young people and wants to help them advance and wants to listen to them and offer them some reflections from where you are in your life. So please think about joining that network if you were thinking, oh, I'm not sure that there's a reason that I should be on that. So that networking, we hope will happen for students in their sophomore year, and we did pilot a program this past year just with 24 student alumni mentorship partners, and it gave us a chance to see how this might work, how the technology works, and what kinds of training, frankly, our alumni may need to be effective mentors, and what kinds of training our students might need to be effective mentees. Second, I want to talk about those beautiful marketing materials that I mentioned as a key to our success. Every one of you has access to our redesigned website, and you also get a lot of other digital materials like SMC stories. So you should be receiving all of those as alums, and I have a couple copies, as I mentioned, of the View Book and other pieces of print collateral up here. These all just show a vibrant campus life that's happening right now at St. Mary's. And many of our parents tell us that our materials were best in class in terms of the things that landed in their mailboxes. So those marketing efforts have been materially, change makers for St. Mary's, and our VP, Holly Johnson, VP for Advancement, has led that work in collaboration with several other campus offices. I also mentioned the importance, and she's also responsible for the big party we're having tonight, which is gonna make all of our heads explode. I mentioned the importance of the Notre Dame relationship. We have a number of programs, graduate programs right here on our campus, as I mentioned earlier in the enrollment numbers. Our programs are primarily designed to be master's degrees or doctoral degrees in fields where students really need that next degree to advance in their career. So if you have a social work bachelor's degree, you really need an MSW to kind of step into your career in a full way. And so adding an MSW was important. Adding the master's in speech language pathology was important. Nursing has been a staple for us over time. But we also know that we just can't keep adding graduate programs here that replicate graduate programs that exist in our ecosystem in the tri-campus or that exist in the ecosystem, the local ecosystem. So we are thrilled that 3 years ago we launched 4 accelerated pathways into graduate programs with Notre Dame's Mendoza College of Business. These are graduate degrees in the Master of Science in Accountancy, the Master of Nonprofit Administration, the Master of Finance, the Master of Science and Management, and those 4 programs did very well. They do well to help us recruit students who may never go to the program in the end, but they come believing that that's what they want to do, to go to St. Mary's and then to get a master's degree from Notre Dame as well. So we are really pleased with the way those have gone, and because of that, last year we signed an agreement to add the ESTEAM program, which is Notre Dame's entrepreneurship program, and we also signed a contract to add the Master's in Digital Marketing program. So students begin to be advised in those programs. They just have to meet the prerequisite requirements and meet the GPA requirements, and they're in. They don't have to take the GMAT. I mean, it's a great partnership that we have with Notre Dame. And they are looking, interestingly, for liberal arts graduates. They don't want everybody to be doubling down on their business degrees and saying, I did business as an undergraduate and a business as... They want the creative thinking of liberal arts majors, and they see our grads doing extremely well in those programs. That's burnished our reputation, and I don't have to tell any of you about that because so many of you have gone off and done that exact kind of thing and burnished our reputation. So in the marketing materials, you will see a lot of language about belonging. In fact, as I said, you just have to drive down the avenue and every signpost has a banner that says you belong all the way along. With a student body that continues to grow more diverse, we want to ensure that every student feels a deep sense of belonging and mattering at St. Mary's. Every single person on campus has to contribute to that work, but much of that work is led by Dr. Regina Hill, our Vice President for Belonging. And so I just will mention a few things that are in her area. Many of you know about our Office for Student Empowerment, and many of you have contributed to its success. We've now raised just under $9 million to support the work of that office. Thank you. For those of you who don't know about it, this is the office that ensures that under-resourced students who may be under-resourced, and for most of them it is the fact that they're under-resourced because they don't have the financial resources to do some of the things that they would like to be able to do when they come to St. Mary's. But they're also under-resourced because they may be first in their family to go to college and they don't have someone in their home who tells them how to navigate things. When you have a student who says, I've got my schedule and I see what I'm going to do, I see the courses I'm going to take, and I know where I need to be, but when do I get lunch? Like, you don't know. You've had 12 years of being given a lunch hour in your school. You're not given a lunch hour when you come to St. Mary's. You go when you're free and when you're hungry. And being able to help students to just navigate some of the things some of us will never have thought of. We keep adding to the list of things we need to be thinking about. So that office is helping every student have the opportunity to thrive and contribute and lead during their 4 years at St. Mary's. This year, there were 417 students eligible for those resources, and they received support such as laptops, move-in kits, winter clothing, football tickets. Yes, people come thinking, oh, I heard we get to go to Notre Dame football games, but they arrive and didn't know they had to pay for their tickets. Commencement regalia, diploma frames, and financial assistance to get their family here for family events so they don't feel like they're the one person whose mom isn't here for Junior Moms Weekend. And these items have just had a huge impact on our students and their college experience. We also have a student emergency fund that distributed over $8,300 to 48 students last year for health expenses, emergency travel, and other needs. And since 2022, we have attracted 2 grants totaling $2.1 million for the Kessler Scholars Initiative. And this is allowing us to be part of a network of colleges and universities committed to supporting first-generation college students through direct financial support as well as cohort-based services. So we have about 80 Kessler Scholars who are named Kessler Scholars on campus, and they take a lot of pride in participating in that program. But what I also love is that all those programs that we've designed for those Kessler Scholars, we open up for every single first-generation college student or any other college student who says, I might need that. The Division for Belonging also ensures that our international, our multicultural, and our LGBTQ students find a real sense of home at the college. So all of that work happening in our Division for Belonging and a lot of other places on campus. We also have incredibly rich spiritual life experiences for our students. Our Mission Division is led by Dr. Molly Gower, and she brings deep theological knowledge to the work. She oversees the Center for Faith Action and Ministry and the Center for the Study of Spirituality. And the Center for Faith Action and Ministry, or CFAM as we lovingly call it, continues to work to engage our students in exploring their faith. We have 7 student ministry assistants who run 9 small faith-sharing groups like FIAT, which is a Marian-inspired student-led group with about 30 students who meet monthly. Interfaith Dialogues is another of their projects, Faith Talk Fridays, and Jesus Jam. So they've got a lot of fun names, and they pull in lots of students who are interested in being part of that. CFAM also coordinates our daily and our Sunday masses and our priest chaplains' weekly office hours. We also have a SPES service experience that the Mission Division has developed, and they prepare students for justice immersions that take place over the fall, January, and spring breaks. They've been to Tucson, to St. Louis, to Chicago, to Iowa, and elsewhere to encounter and learn alongside people who are doing justice work. CFAM is also planning its first international SPES experience next summer in Ghana, where the students will spend time with the Sisters of the Holy Cross there. Our fall, spring, and special student retreats, we just have some pop-up ones that are not necessarily the official fall and spring retreats, but they had record enrollments this year. And I think it really speaks to our students' desire for community and for faith formation, and they find a lot of connection in these kinds of experiences. This year, our local bishop, Bishop Kevin Rhodes, has been on campus several times for special masses. And of course, we cherish our connection to the Sisters of the Holy Cross, and we have a group called Friends with Sisters. I think it existed with a different name when many of you were here before. We have a CFAM pop-up, and many of the sisters show up for the pop-up. We have a Ministry of Social Transformation program that's grant-funded and that involves our students working together with people at the college and Sisters of the Holy Cross who have agreed to be part of that special ministry. So lots of ways of building relationships with the sisters whose presence is here and vibrant on campus. I love to go to Loretto on Sundays, and afterwards I always see students I know, and they're staying behind because they want to talk to their sister friends. They're not staying behind to talk to me. In April, we had a really special celebration when we gathered as a community to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the consecration of Holy Spirit Chapel. And we did it on the actual day of the 100th anniversary. It was a beautiful day. Father Bill Lease, who's the superior of the Congregation of Holy Cross, he came and celebrated the Mass, and several of our priest chaplains were with him as well. And then I hope some of you were able to attend yesterday's tour of our sustainable farm. I don't know if anybody was there, but it has grown, literally and figuratively, over the last few years, and we are entering our third full-scale growing season. If you're at the event tonight, you'll see some beautiful videos where you see extraordinary-looking produce that is just out on tables for people in our community to take home. We have, 180 chickens, I think, over there, new meaning for SMIC chicks. They lay a lot of eggs, and you know the price of eggs. So there are people at the college, especially the people who are doing, a lot of the most important work, cleaning our buildings and mowing our grass and keeping the campus beautiful. And we love seeing so many members of our community who are over there to gather some eggs. And I should say, though, although I just mentioned that our community gets to benefit from the sustainable farm, really the sustainable farm is there to provide food to people who are unable to afford, in the local community, who are unable to afford fresh fruits and vegetables. So we have 30 families who are supported by our sustainable farm. Then we have a separate sort of farm stand where others in the community can come and can gather some of the fruits of our labor. And then what's left is there for people at the college to take advantage of of that work. And there's a wonderful long line. Students even go over and gather bouquets of the wildflowers that we grow on the farm as well. So you don't have to go on a tour to go over there. If you just feel like taking a nice walk this weekend, head out behind the playing fields, and there's some signage that'll get you to the farm. Okay, that was a lot about stuff that we've already accomplished, but not everybody knows everything that's happening at the college, so I did want to spend some time with that. But I did also want to say a few quick words about what is on the horizon and what I'm excited about. So we remain laser focused on our strategic plan, Revere and Revise. That plan, as Jessica mentioned, takes us through 2030, and we've recently sort of rethought, okay, what are the really important things that get us there, and created a little bit of a roadmap for the next 4 years. So first, we've hired campus master planners to help us understand the usage of our campus facilities and to help us address any opportunities that might be arising from all this enrollment growth. So I look forward to what these architects will tell us about how we can make the campus experience even more vibrant and accessible. Our VP for Strategy and Legal Affairs, Chief of Staff, Aaron Hoffman-Harding, is leading these strategic efforts, and it's really important that we think about our campus, whether we need to do any additional building, whether we need to do additional renovation, and whether we want to improve our wayfinding and other things on campus. So it's a big project, and it's something that I think is going to be very exciting. Second, I talked about the Avenue experience as if it was already an accomplishment, and there are a lot of accomplishments related to getting that launched. But This is a 4-year program, and we are building the plane as we're flying it. So, this first year of students, they are kind of our guinea pigs. We're building next year's experience, and it'll be ready for them before they arrive in September and in August. And, we'll be building next year the junior year experience. So we are, thinking a lot about this, and there's still a lot of work to do there. So I'm excited for the continued build out that'll make this a 4-year experience for our students. And then third, I'm going to mention that we've received some gift funding that's going to help us with the beautification of some campus chapels and sacred spaces. And we're also excited that we're going to get to partner with the new Heritage and Research Center on campus. I hope maybe some of you went to the HARC, was it yesterday? Okay, yeah. I had to stop and think, what's today and what's yesterday? So the new HARC building that's down at the stop sign, just an extraordinarily beautiful construction. We offered the Welcome Center to the sisters to use in connection with the building that they would build. And I asked Sister Suzanne Brennan, please, to make sure that the building kind of spoke architecturally to the Welcome Center. It could not be more beautiful. So I am thrilled that that is there. It's a collaboration of our sisters with 9 other orders of sisters who will have their papers and other artifacts of their history and their ongoing work. And we just love the idea that our St. Mary's students will also, and faculty, will also get to do some collaboration there, help tell some of those stories, learn how to do research with those primary materials. It's going to be fantastic. And then finally, I'll just mention that we're continuing to grow our public relations efforts because we need to ensure that St. Mary's is known locally, regionally, and nationally. And we have incredible graduates. We have incredible stories to tell. I want to make sure that those stories are really, really out there in the world. Sometimes I don't think we're even well enough known right here in our own backyard. So lots of hard work and lots more that I just picked a few there. We're actively and intentionally building our future on the strong foundations of our founders and sponsors, the Sisters of the Holy Cross. St. Mary's has always been about opening doors, and now that's our calling to continue advancing and nourishing women's professional and spiritual and personal lives and amplifying their voices. So our campaign, another big project I'll add, Ring Out, Ring True, will help us to accomplish our strategic efforts, empowering our students to be leaders in the world, enriching our community as a dynamic and equitable and faith-filled campus, and enhancing our college with investments in programs, in people, and in facilities to ensure our future for generations to come. So I do hope you'll join us, as I said, later tonight for the after party and the big surprise reveal. I also want to mention 2 leadership gifts for the Ring Out, Ring True campaign that came from class members who are celebrating their reunions this year. You may have noticed that some dirt is being turned up on campus, all along the edge when you look to the left, the tree line. You may have seen it if you came in the hotel entrance, dug up across the front there. You can find a few other places on campus where the dig has already begun to happen. And so I just want you to know that yesterday we hosted a small groundbreaking for a 2.5-mile paved wellness loop that will be named the Trustee Trail. Class of 1986 graduate Chris Anderson Trustee and her husband Sean McGraw have generously funded this project as part of the campaign. And this trail, we're trailblazing. We've always been trailblazers. We're blazing a new trail. The trail will be completed in November, and it's going to provide safe, fully lit, accessible pathways, areas for reflection and prayer, and a fitness area as well, which is designed to support health, wellness, and belonging for St. Mary's and for the entire Tri-Campus community. So we really are grateful to Chris and Sean for that incredible gift. They were here yesterday, but they had to head straight to Denver for a wedding. And I said, it's not that many people who leave Boston and make a stop in South Bend on their way to Denver. But we were grateful that they were here and we could do a little groundbreaking. We'll have the official ribbon cutting BC weekend if you're here. And then class of 1961 graduate, Susan Irely Pickler, 61, right? And her husband, Joe, recently established the Susan and Joe Pickler Chair in the Humanities, which will be the 9th endowed faculty position at St. Mary's. Susan is here, and she's close enough that she can't be blocked out even by the bright light. So right here. Thank you, Susan, for understanding that endowed chairs are such an important thing reputationally for the college. They're so important for our ability to attract and retain the incredible faculty members that we bring here. And of course, from the perspective of the faculty member, this is the highest honor that can be bestowed on a faculty member. And Dr. Sarah Noonan of the English department will be the inaugural Pickler Chair this fall. She'll be installed. Now, I named these two gifts, they're leadership gifts, and that's why I named them, but I look around this room, and even though I can't see that well, I know that many of you who are here who have supported St. Mary's through your philanthropy, so thank you. During reunion weekend and our reunion class giving program, we are always reminded of the generosity that is one of this community's great traditions. And so many alumni choose to say, I'm going to mark my reunion year with a gift that honors my experience and helps create opportunities for another generation. And I assure you that gifts of every size make a difference. The work of educating our students in a deeply personal, rigorous, values-centered environment, it just requires meaningful resources and scholarships, academic programs, student support, religious and campus life, faculty excellence, the many experiences that shape a St. Mary's education. These are all strengthened by your philanthropic investment. I'm inspired by how your generosity reflects confidence in our students, faith in the mission of St. Mary's, and I hope for the future we're building together. So for that trust and the many ways you continue to sustain and strengthen the college, I'm profoundly grateful. So as you can see, St. Mary's is truly standing at the threshold of opportunity. We continue the good work of preparing our students to engage and grow intellectually, personally, spiritually, both individually and together with one another as a community. And this is hard work, but it is good hard work. And so I am grateful to be here doing it. I am so grateful that I have an extraordinary team that's always ready to roll up their sleeves and make the magic happen for our current students and our future generations. So I don't know if I have time for questions. I'm going to be told. Two. I'll be around, you can find me, and I can answer other questions. But somebody else is going to probably have to figure out how to call on people because I can't see. We're going to bring you a mic, just so everybody can hear.
A microphone?
Yes.
I'm an alum from this class of 71. I'm just wondering if there's any talk of assisting alumni who've become widows or divorced or have to redirect their lives, get back to work. Is there any talk of something that can help them along? I attended a retreat many years ago on Notre Dame's campus for widowed and divorced male and female, and it was the most helpful, inspiring weekend that changed the course of my depressed feeling of being able to meet the challenge. And they no longer have that. But it was run by a woman who was a theology type person in a hospital in Chicago. And everyone that was there were about 30 of us, benefited so much. I just wanted to throw that out. I thought at one time there was talk of helping people retool, the alumni retool if they needed it. But even a weekend like that was very inspiring.
I love this idea, and so thank you, and I'm glad to know that you found that wonderful experience and were able to participate in it. So I can answer part of the question. We don't have something right now like the weekend that you were talking about, but what we do, what I spoke about earlier, and I think Jessica mentioned as well, is that our PACE Center is there for alumni across their lifetimes. You can come back to the PACE Center at any point. I mean, you don't have to come physically. You can reach out, and we want to ensure that alumni who may decide, they may have left the workforce, they may want to retool, they may have had an event in their family, and they may now have a completely different mission in their lives, and they might want some education to meet the new feeling that they have about the contribution they want to make to the world. And of course, just being with other people who have suffered an incredible loss. I mean, that is part of what you're talking about, I think, in that experience, and being able to think together and experience together some ways of finding rebirth. So I would, I think, our alumni director, Kara, is here, so she's just heard this idea too. And I'm actually interested in whether Notre Dame might partner with us on this so that we could, do something together that might allow people who, maybe we can help them. Maybe we can help them rekindle it. Yeah. Thank you for your idea. Appreciate it. Did we have another hand?
Hi, I'm an alumna from the class of 2016. Really excited to hear about the continued addition of students, first-generation college students. I was wanting just to ask, given that many first-generation college students come from immigrant and refugee backgrounds, how St. Mary's is kind of meeting this moment and offering protection to students from those families in solidarity with them.
Yes, thank you. It's an important question. And, our first generation students really span so many different backgrounds, but definitely there are some who do come from immigrant and refugee backgrounds, and there are some who are undocumented. And we have resources that those students know about because we make those available to them, but we also keep the circle of people who are knowledgeable about who they are very small, because we just don't want someone to feel that that we have someone on campus who's asking questions, and the fewer people who are involved in that, but still enough to be giving the support that those students need is really important. And we do have some great language skills among those folks as well. I'll say this, in terms of the support of students who may be, for whom English may be their second language, or whose families may have English as their second language. We now also, all of our, admission events have a special session for parents who might want to hear about St. Mary's and go through the program in Spanish. So we do that as well. But we know that those students are with us. We know who they are. I am not one of the people who knows who they are, and I think that's a really good thing. But we are very focused on ensuring that students who may feel unsafe for any reason feel that they have support on our campus. If you're thinking about ICE coming onto campus, we certainly have protocols, and everyone who needs to know what those protocols are has been informed about them, and we have some public information for people who, like, what do you say if someone just walks up to you on campus and asks some questions? So I think we're very prepared for those kinds of things, and that these students, are really treated with absolute compassion, and that their sense of belonging on campuses means as much to us as any other student. I was told too, and I know that the program must go on, but is that where we are? We can take one more. Oh, we can take one more. I see a hand.
Thank you. I'm curious as to whether St. Mary's has lost international students because of our current immigration policies.
Thank you for that question. I'm not sure if we know why we have lost international students, specifically, but we certainly have fewer international students on campus than we did at one time. Part of the issue is that some of the policies have certainly made it harder for students to come and to feel that they can complete their degree in 4 years, and to make a huge investment that they might not be able to complete is on their minds, I think. It's also the case that there are students from certain countries who just are not able to get visas at this point. So we know that there's some effect that comes from those policies. We also know that it has hampered our ability to send people out and do effective recruiting of international students, because, we can send people and hand out materials, but it's difficult to figure out how we can make those funds really well-used funds in the current environment. And so we certainly haven't abandoned this idea. There's a student who graduated just this past year who came to us. She's from Nigeria. She came to us from the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. We have 2 students on campus who are from the African Leadership Academy. Well, now we have only 1 because Chinaza graduated. But this is an incredible school which attracts students from all over the African continent. And we have a great ecosystem for recruiting those students here, because Notre Dame is actually the largest recruiter in the country of students from the African Leadership Academy. So if they come, they're going to have a little bit of a built-in community. If they need to see somebody who looks familiar to them, they can find an old friend from school across the street, as well as on our campus. That is the kind of place, and I'm sure there are others that we could connect ourselves to as well, where I feel that if we began to build up a relationship, we could recruit a student or 2 every year, and begin to have a presence of people who would come from the many different countries that are on the African continent. Now, I say that, but I also have to say that those students primarily bring extraordinary need beyond just tuition. And so I think if we can find some ways for people who care deeply about making our campus more international to help us to think about how we can bridge the gap for those students. If we are giving tuition fees, room and board to a student, there's another student who is not getting that. Every other student isn't getting that, and we just have to think about equity in that way too. So it's a troubling question, only because we would like nothing more than for our students to be learning in the company of people who come from completely different cultures. Of course, we have other cultures within our own country, but there is something about not just going out to study abroad, but having friends for 4 years who came from somewhere else in the world and who teach you through their everyday lives. The ways in which we are all different, and lucky to have so much difference among us. So thank you for your question. I wish I had a better answer. Okay, I think I am getting the hook, and that means that I'm going to welcome Kara O'Leary back up to continue our day and our awards. Thank you so much for being here.